Lots of opportunities if you know when to take them, you know. There are a lot of opportunities. If there aren't, you can make them. Make or break them. I've got the brains, you've got the looks. Let's make lots of money. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter, from deep in the bowels of our underground lair, where we cause more liberals to scream collectively than a national Free Palestine rally.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Jay. Oh, wow.
I know. That's some big numbers.
That's a high standard for us to live up to there.
Well,
I don't know if I can live up to that.
well, I think just by existing
Oh, okay.
and doing what we do,
We just
and
exist.
the platform that we have, I think that just happens.
That's enough for people. I'll tell you what, to have just a platform and be hated it's quite a skill. I mean, that's
Yes.
a skill that I've honed. Just you've honed as much as me, I think.
Yes.
So, by the way, okay.
Yeah.
So the song, I don't remember the song, but I remember the movie it's from.
Oh, yeah.
Opportunity Knocks, right? That's the song, Opportunity Knocks.
That's not the title. Opportunities. Let's make lots of money.
Okay, well, I got the opportunity part right.
Right.
So Opportunity Knocks. Remember that movie with Dana Carvey? Remember that?
No.
Jeez, yeah. Did
Dana
we grow up at the same time?
Yes. Dana Carvey, I remember very well. Opportunity Knocks. I don't know if I saw that one.
It was just horrid. But
That's maybe
loved
why
it.
I didn't see that one. Although I saw my share of absolutely horrid movies. I mean, pick anything with like Pauly Shore in it.
Oh, goodness. Son-in-law.
Yes. Biodome. I can't believe I actually watched that.
I
after
saw
seeing
your
Son-in-Law.
I saw your DVD of Glitter over here, so
Yeah,
I know
don't
you've
have
watched
that.
your share of bad ones right by your Milli Vanilli CD.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know the song. I don't know this. Opportunities by Dion and the Belmonts.
Pet Shop Boys.
I've heard of them.
You would know the song if you heard it.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
They're 80s, right? I should have known them.
Yeah.
I want to say the greatest year of music, 1985. I want to say they had a song or two in the top 40.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure they did.
Oh yeah. They
Phil
had,
Collins had 3. The Pet Shop Boys should have at least 1.
Phil Collins was all over the place, whether it
Well,
was
and
him or Genesis.
Right,
or,
and I don't really know sometimes if it's one or the other, but
and he wrote some songs that got huge airplay where he wasn't like the focal artist. What was her name? Frida from ABBA. He wrote a song for her that did really well in the charts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Phil certainly had his success. I mean, certainly, if you can separate him from Genesis, I mean, I don't know that they're kind of one and the same in my head. I hear
they are
Phil,
different.
and I don't know.
They are different.
Yeah.
Something's going on. That's the song with Frida that he did.
Okay.
There's something going on. You'd know it if you heard it.
I'm sure I would.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, then I got the song 1/9 correct. 'Cause I got opportunity.
Right. Yeah. Oh boy.
Hey Jay, I
Yeah.
got a question. By the way,
Yes.
I have to acknowledge 2 deaths. One was today.
Oh boy.
One of my all-time favorite baseball players passed away today, Chet Lemon.
Really?
Yeah, an old. He played for the
Yeah.
White Sox. And I remember more with the Tigers.
Yeah, me too.
Because they played in one of the most underrated ball players anywhere was Chet Lemon. Guy never said a word. He went out and did his. He was just a great all-around player. I love that Tigers team that we beat because 1984 was the first year of baseball I remember watching, and they won the title that year. And that's the team the Twins beat in '87.
Yeah.
So, but Chet Lemon passed away. Also, conservative author David Horowitz passing away last week. Yeah, he was a lot older than I thought he was. He was like 84.
Are you serious?
86? Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
And he was an anti-Vietnam guy, and then he became a conservative later and wrote a lot of good books. I read several of them, but he passed away April 29th, I think, about 2 weeks ago. So,
oh, wow.
so, he was, like I said, he was like 85 years old. He was a lot older than I thought. So
Yeah, I wouldn't have put him at that.
yeah, I wouldn't have either. But unfortunately, we lost him. So got to acknowledge, pay our respects to some people. A rare show where you don't have to do any. I wonder how many old wrestlers we'll ever mention again because there's so few of them around.
Yeah, there's enough.
Yeah, there's a handful left from the old days, but not many.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So David Horowitz and Chet Lemon, passing away, unfortunately.
Yes.
So, Jay, you have to just be mesmerized by our local media here.
Yes. They have been doing a smash-up job.
Just incredible.
And by smash-up, I mean they have been right there as people smash up our stores and and loot. And
remember, that was mostly peaceful.
Yes.
That was how it was described
Right.
by our media here. Well, the local media has just been going crazy, along with Governor Tampon. They've been going nuts about Minnesota's graduation rate. By the way,
yes.
Why does it take them a year to figure out how many people graduated last June?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's not very good efficiency there from the Department of Education.
Maybe some of the same people that they're getting to graduate are the ones that are doing the counting.
Yeah. Well, you got the ones on the 5-year plan, the 6-year plan.
Hey, I took the 5-year plan in college.
Oh, well,
that worked out for me.
College, that's one thing.
Yeah.
The 4-year graduation rate for 2024 was 84.2%, according to newly released data from the Minnesota Department of Education, which was so great. I mean, if you watch Channel 5 or you watch what's her name, Murphy something on
Esme Murphy, yeah.
If you watch Channel 9, it was just wonderful. It's all because Tim Walz provided universal breakfast for everybody, that everybody graduated. If you're a gay Indian, you went up like 1% in your graduation rate. If you're like half Somali and 1/4 Iroquois, I think you went up like 0.7%. Some bull crap like that.
I would challenge to see if there's one person in this state that is half Somali and 1/4 Iroquois.
Well, Iroquois, they were like in New York, right?
Yes, they were out in New York, yes.
What was here beside the Chippewas? Was the Sioux. Okay, that was, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right. So then they were the hell are you thinking?
The
what a
half
combination.
Pawnee and
one third
Peruvian.
Well, Elizabeth Warren. I don't know. That, of course, what they don't mention, and I can only find this on the American Experiment, was that it was coupled with the worst reading and math proficiency numbers that we've seen in a long time. So tell me this, Jay. How is it possible that more kids are graduating, yet the kids are getting dumber and dumber? I mean, just tell me, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, well, since I was educated before they started doing this, I can tell you how they did it. They changed the standards.
Yeah. Oh, you mean they do that?
They lowered the standards for graduation so more people would graduate.
Oh.
What a great plan. And they don't ever talk about that. They just say more people graduated. Wow.
Average English, math, science, and composite ACT scores were among the lowest they've been in a decade.
Yeah.
According to the Minnesota Department of Education's own numbers. Now, look, Jay, we've talked a million times about what the hell is wrong with public education. I mean, and again, there seems to be no clue as to how to fix this. I've told this story before. Watching a debate in 1998 between Norm Coleman, Jesse the Mind, and Skip Humphrey, talking about how they had to solve the education gap. We sit here 27 years later, and they haven't done squat.
No.
Now, look, It's not all on the schools. That's true. But don't tell us, give us more money and we're going to solve it, and then don't solve it, and then we'll give us more money and we'll solve it, but they don't solve it. Then give us more money and they don't. You know what I mean, when are we going to realize the public school system is just like the black and white TV? I mean, just when is that ever going to happen?
Never, because it's propped up by all the unions, and you've got the unions in cahoots with the legislatures and with the, we'll see if nationally they ever get rid of the Department of Education. I don't foresee that happening. It's not looking good. We'll talk about that maybe later. But as far as here, you have the legislature tied to Education Minnesota very closely. And I don't know how you ever separate that. And Education Minnesota is never going to allow for private schools and homeschooling to take hold, because that weakens their grip.
Now, yes, and Governor Walz has proposed a bunch of things to limit charter schools, take away credits for homeschooling.
Transportation.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing everything he can to dismantle any competition at all. My question becomes, when does it collapse under its own weight, though? I mean, when do we get to a point where it's like, I've said this before, do 51% of the parents have to somehow get out before any change is made at all? And why does it work? And this is what I don't get. It's like everyone can see that this isn't working.
Yeah.
Even the people who are proponents of public schools,
they know.
We'll concede to you that, it should be way better than it is, if they're honest about it. Some are, some aren't. Some are. Mm-hmm. They're just married to the public school, that can be the only solution. When does it happen where this doesn't have political legs either? Because, I mean, you can sit there and say more money for schools. Well, when does that not work? When does it become, you know what?
Yeah.
We've done this 10 times, and we're not doing it 11.
I don't know that the public is engaged enough to be able to catch on. That's the problem. It's like for some reason, there's this cognitive dissonance where they can't get it into their minds that the people that are causing the problem are the ones that they keep voting for. Yeah. And if they do replace them, somehow they seem to replace them with people that are greater. They're more entrenched than those that they get rid of with the woke nonsense. Or
they get co-opted.
Yeah, But I don't know how you overcome that, because again, even if you had that many parents pull their kids out of public schools and homeschool them or put them in private school, then you see what we have here with Governor Walz changing the laws, or putting forth the effort to try and get the laws changed, where it makes it harder for people to go to private schools and to go to homeschooling.
Yeah, they don't get the choice that they should get.
Right.
I mean, but how do you? I guess my question, maybe more broadly, is maybe you're right though. I just always wonder if there's like a tipping point where, okay, we're not accepting these results anymore.
It would mean that people in this state who are very Democratic would have to vote Republican, and they're not going.
Yeah, or send different kinds of Democrats. It's kind of like, I look at it almost like I look at like the post office. The post office sends me nothing I want.
Right.
If I want something, I get it FedEx, UPS, or Amazon. Yeah. It's like I take out my garbage and the post office brings it back to me. That's how I honestly feel.
That is pretty true.
And you can keep the pizza coupons for the ladies on The View. I don't need them. Okay. So, but again, we have to have the post office. It's like we're married to. We have to know something's there. It's like everybody realizes Social Security just can't go on indefinitely, but no one wants to change it.
Right.
Your Social Security check wouldn't cover your rent. but we can't change it because it's like people have to have some certainty. Maybe I don't know what that is. I went to Cooper High School, and it's like Cooper High School always has to be there.
Right.
If it goes away, the world's gonna end. You know what I mean? It's like I think that's the mentality. Like there's got to be some finite things that just don't change when everything else changes. I don't know.
Right.
But to me, the post office outlived its usefulness, right after the Pony Express. And I just, it's another thing that could go, hello, Congress.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
Just saying. So, yeah, education, once again, a disaster, a nightmare in this state. No surprise.
And again, we've got a group of politicians that are misleading you. If they're lying, why not just say what it is? They're lying. They're not just misleading you. They're lying about the state of our education here in Minnesota, and hopefully we'll wise up.
And it wasn't that long ago that Minnesota was a very highly educated state.
Our teachers were going everywhere. Texas, people wanted Minnesota teachers. Now they don't. But we don't.
We've gone the way of beta.
We don't look at the signs and say, "Oh, this is bad. Let's not do what we're doing." No, we just do more of it and think that's going to fix it.
Well, I mean, the Democratic Party, the more you fail, the more you move up. How else do you explain Gavin Newsom?
Right.
I mean, there's just J.B. Pritzker. How do you explain him? Name one good thing he's done for Illinois. Name anything he's done.
He has increased the revenue of a lot of the fast food places.
I was going to say he's consumed a lot. But he's done it at best. That's revenue neutral because he's getting a governor's salary. Well, so I'm not sure that's really contributing. You know how much money you got to take out of the economy to feed him? It's like 11 horses. Okay, so
right.
I mean, and I know I'm not 173 pounds. But still, I mean. That guy, holy cow. I mean, you were pretty quick on that answer, though. I mean, you had an answer prepared. I was going to say maybe he does cannonballs in the Riverwalk, and people pay 50 cents to watch that or something.
Yeah, no.
See him do a cannonball. All right. Jay, my frustration level is getting high right now.
Yes.
I've been an optimist since November.
Yeah.
You remember what a pessimist, horrible person I was to be around most of 2024. It was a rough year. It was a sad year. Watching whatever that bag of eyeballs was we thought was the president. And ever since Trump's reelection, I've been an optimist. I've been happy. You can't wipe a smile off my face if you kicked me in the hoo-ha.
And he's done some great things.
And we could sit there, when we talked about this a little bit when Glenn Beck interviewed him.
Yeah.
It talked about accomplishments in 100 days. The Trump administration sent him a list 3 inches thick of things that he had done.
Yeah.
And Glenn Beck said that by the time he started the interview, he was on page 89. Of stuff.
Yes.
He goes, I can't read it all. It's not possible. I'd have to interview him in August to get through all this. And I mean, we can go. He's doing great things every day. I mean, there was a press conference about a week or two ago where all these CEOs from these companies joined most of the cabinet at the White House, and they were talking about how much money they're investing in the United States.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting because Trump stepped back a little bit and let these CEOs, he brought some of them up front, and they were talking about there was a natural gas company that's building a plant in Louisiana, and they talked about how many employees they're going to hire. There's this other company with these AI chips that they're going to manufacture them here. And I mean, it was so interesting. No coverage of it. Even Fox, Jesse Waters, I think, did a piece on it.
Yeah.
But there were millions of dollars, being invested in the United States. And the reality is, though, that the president himself can't do all of this.
Right.
The reality is his quote-unquote allies in Congress, and I'm going to use that term loosely, need to get some crap done. And I am getting, and I don't know what the truth is, okay? And I'm going to preface everything I have to say tonight by I can't get to the truth here. I don't know who's telling the truth. I don't know who's reporting to listen to. I don't know. I mean, you can't listen to, if you Google Republican budget, CNN and Politico and just negative thing after negative thing is, but there really are some key issues going on right now in passing, well, not just the president's agenda, but I mean, many people in Congress ran on this stuff. And we're at a tough spot right now.
Yes.
And this is taking way too long to happen. I'm not just talking about the tax cuts, but the new stuff, the cuts in spending, the other things that I think there's other things that they need to do too. And Congress, in my opinion, so far, Jay, has done two things. They've passed the continuing resolution, which goes through September.
Yeah.
And they've passed the Laken Riley Act.
Right.
What the hell else have they been doing since January?
They've had a lot of hearings.
Okay, they've had some. The JFK ones were cool. I support that.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of show trials of Trump's
bringing in
nominees.
mayors from sanctuary cities.
Yeah, okay, there's been a little bit of that. But I'm going to go out on a... There's going to be some people not happy with what I have to say, and that's okay. This is where it stands right now, and then I'm going to throw it to you, and then I'm going to tell you what I think and what you think. Okay, so the Trump tax cuts from 2017, or were the Tax and Jobs Act or something, I can't remember what it was called, expire this year.
Yeah.
They have to be made permanent. Okay?
Right.
That job should have been done 3 months ago.
Yeah. I mean, they should have come in and here's the bill. Make the Trump tax cuts permanent.
Bang, there's the bill.
That's it.
Boom, done.
Refer back to bill
Right.
blah 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 blah.
See page.
Or law or refer to law blah 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 blah. Make them permanent.
Yeah.
That's
There,
it.
done. Then you have, but of course we have to have one big slobber knocker here, and we have Trump's ideas of the Social Security overtime and tips stuff.
Yeah.
Combined with whatever in spending cuts that I can't get a handle on. It's different every article I read about it. I can't get any handle on what that is in the House. There's 11 committees working on this.
Yes.
Okay. The Senate seems to want to do two bills, a tax bill and a cuts bill.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how you do that, since doesn't that have to originate in the House no matter what?
Yeah,
I'm a little
so.
confused on how the Senate can do their own bill, but
maybe taxes are different than spending. In that regard, I don't know. But here's the problem with Congress. I mean, they've known what's coming down the pike. The president was working with some of these guys before he ever got elected.
Sure.
You know, these bills this is nothing new.
Trump announced this stuff in 2023, some of this
I
stuff.
know. And that there's not bills written and ready to be.
Cannot understand that.
It takes our Congress an hour and a half to watch 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
It's
unreal.
Yeah.
They yeah. It's like, where's my movie gone in 60 seconds?
Yeah.
I was here a minute ago. Yeah, that's Congress. I mean, why everything has to be at a sloth's pace? Now, look, I think you need hearings. I think you need debate. I think you need openness. I think those things are required. But look, this is not a shock to anybody. I mean, anybody knew, that when the president got back in, he said it's going to be shock and awe. We're going to move quickly. And he has no choice. He's one term. He's got no choice but to do that.
Right.
And it's like the first Trump term, though. This is what's worrying me. Repeal and replace. What happened to that?
Yeah.
Okay. The Trump tax cuts didn't pass then until October. It took them all year to get that passed through a Republican House and a Republican Senate.
Yep.
So what are we looking at here? I mean, what have they been working on since November?
A big, beautiful bill.
Okay, but the big, beautiful bill should have been written by Christmas.
It should. Yeah.
And I can't understand. Because, look, I know the party is in three factions, and we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
You got the old guard,
Yep.
which is diminished, but they're still there.
Yeah.
You've got the Tea Party, Liberty wing.
Right.
I think the Senate is where it's most divided.
Yes.
I don't think the House is quite as stark as.
Yeah.
And then you have the MAGA.
Yeah.
You know, and you know who they are. They're the more recent people. They're the Josh Hawleys and the Rick Scotts and the John Kennedys and the.
And I think for the most part, you have the MAGA people and the Tea Party people, the Freedom Liberty people, aligned.
I think they're aligned about 85%.
Yes.
They're close.
They are close.
But there's enough of the old guard, and Thune is really part of the old guard.
Yes.
I don't think he's a bad guy. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if I could put him into one of those groups, I wouldn't put him with Rand Paul and Ted Cruz and Mike Lee and John Kennedy. I wouldn't put him there.
Right.
You know, and I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying I don't think he's Mitch McConnell, but he was underneath him
Few
for a
people
while.
are.
Yeah. So I think in the House you have the Freedom Caucus, the MAGA, which is a lot of the younger people that are there now. But I think the old guard doesn't have the cha-ching in the House that they do in the Senate.
Right.
I think the Senate, the old guard, is much, much more. The Murkowskis, the Collinses, it is
John Cornyn.
Yeah, I mean it's much more pronounced there. You got a lot of Republicans who are from seats they win easy. They don't have to do any work, and it just kind of you wonder where they're going to waffle. But I can't understand. Here's what I can't understand. Okay, and this is going to get me in trouble with some of the MAGA and some of the libertarian conservatives. Even though I agree with you guys. And I disagree with the old guard, but hear me out.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think. So, Republicans got elected last year for two reasons. Well, three. But I think two overwhelmingly. One was immigration, and the other was inflation and the economy just not doing well enough, especially for middle-class folks who were really feeling the pinch of higher prices. Now, President Trump solved a lot on immigration already.
Yes.
He's upset 3 people have gotten across the border, and he reprimanded Tom Homan for it. There's still the issue. I mean, Congress still has a role there with the people who are here illegally and what to do with them, and I think we have to do something with that. I don't think we can punt that to the next Congress. I think, obviously, you get rid of the criminals, you get rid of the gang members, even though they're trying to stop the administration from being able to do that. I still think Congress has a role in that, and I think if the Republicans figure it out, you know, those people might vote Republican. I think there's the feeling always that immigrants are going to vote Democratic, but you look at the demographics right now, that's not the trend.
Right.
Anyhow, immigration is being dealt with, I think, pretty solidly. Getting the economy going has to be the other number one priority.
Right.
And I think the third reason that Trump got elected and the Republicans is just backlash on the DEI and him, her, me, you, that kind of stuff. I think that was the number one underlying issue. And again, I think Trump's taking care of a lot of that executively as well. But getting the economy moving and booming
Yes.
has to come before anything else right now, even before spending cuts.
Right.
Because the truth is, if we have peace and prosperity, there's no case to be made against Republicans. J.D. Vance is the next president. That's just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If the economy's not great, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Period. So you've got to get the economy going. And the way we're going to do that is to make those tax cuts permanent and put the new tax cuts in. And that's going to cause, along with the trade stuff that we're
cutting
working on.
regulation.
Right,
You know,
which is a part
yeah.
of this. I didn't mention that. But
Yeah.
shrinking the size of government there, opening up the oil drilling, which Trump's already done
Yeah.
partly. Congress could go further.
Yeah.
They always can.
Right.
We don't just have to do it on federal lands. Hello. But to me, that has to come ahead of spending cuts. Even though if we're up to me, Jay, I'd take a chainsaw to that budget. But there comes a time where it's already May. I mean, if you don't put these tax cuts in place, or they don't go into effect until January, or people aren't going to feel it for a while.
Yeah.
That's a problem. So while I agree with the, more, budget hawks and deficit hawks, and I totally see their point. I totally want more cuts.
Yeah.
And by the way, why is it so hard to figure out what to cut? See, this is the other part that I'm not understanding.
Right.
I mean, I'd start with unraveling the Green New Deal. That would be one of the first things I would do. Second thing I'd do is I'd put getting rid of the Department of Education in this bill.
Absolutely.
I would put getting rid of any light rail project, any local bike path, I would get rid of all of that. You could, there's so many popular, those would be popular things.
Yes.
They would be things you could easily sell. We're not going to waste our money, maybe get sent to Uganda or something to study, chimpanzees' mating habits. We're not going to do that. I mean, they would be very easy. Now, look, that's not going to cover everything. That is not going to cover the deficit. I understand that.
Yeah.
But you've got to get some small wins. You got to start somewhere.
Right. And just in being responsible, just because it doesn't cover the deficit doesn't mean you do it anyway.
No,
Those are things that easy wins you take away that at least chip away at that deficit.
right. I mean, spending didn't all come in 1 year. It's not going to all be repealed in 1 year. But
Right.
again, I come back to this one big bill. How are you going to make everybody happy with it? It's just, I don't, and the Senate and the House seem to be miles apart on it,
Right.
especially the cuts part.
Yeah, I don't understand why it's so hard to cut money when you're a Republican. It should be the easiest thing in the world to do.
Well, and why are they going after Medicaid? You're telling me now, look, does Medicaid need reform? Yes. Does Medicaid need changes? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are there things I want to do to it? There's a million things. But before we go there,
Yeah.
there should be 500 other places we go to first.
Right.
Why don't we go there first? And if we get to Medicaid next year, we get to it next year. At least we passed some cuts with the tax cuts.
Yeah.
We can sell that.
Yeah.
But what we can't sell is we promised to fix it and we didn't do it.
Right.
We promised to repeal and replace and we didn't do it. That's what you can't sell.
Yeah, that hurt them. in
Very
Trump's
much
first
so.
term.
I know.
And I hope that they learn from that.
And I hope so too, because if I'm Trump, I'm sitting there going, listen, you people got me out on an island here.
Yeah.
My whole second term depends on the economy. And if you don't deliver this, we're all going down.
Yeah.
I mean, Trump's going down figuratively, not literally. They'll go down literally.
Yes.
And I think Trump's answer to how it passes, I don't care. And it's I mean, look, the one good thing is that they're all talking to each other. I mean, that's the one good thing that I see.
Yeah.
And Trump's been eerily quiet about it.
Yeah, it has been strange.
He's been not Trump-like.
Yeah.
Normally he'd be out there, with a whip and chain telling them how it is. So that gives me some hope that there's a back room or somebody's holding up something for something. But the U.S. Senate is a place where I'll tell you what, you couldn't pay me to be a U.S. Senator. I mean, I couldn't take it. I couldn't take it for a day. I'd love to see Trump in the Senate for a day. Or Ron DeSantis or somebody like that. They would absolutely they'd put a 38 in their mouth. It would be horrible.
Oh my goodness.
It's just a terrible, disgusting place.
Yeah.
And the Democrats, they're no help. They don't care.
No.
They're sitting back hoping Trump fails, hoping the economy goes to hell. That's their big program for 26. And I want to say something, too, to Republicans. It is way too early to worry about the elections next year. It is way too early for that. I mean, is it too early to be recruiting kids? No. Is it too early to be jittery? And why are they always worried when they get in the majority?
Because they're not doing anything. That's why. They should be worried. They should be worried or start passing bills. I mean, I would rather them pass bills than be worried.
The worst thing they can do is nothing.
Yeah, but they're pretty good at that.
Man, what are you doing? I'm doing nothing. But I mean, if you sat me down, I could go over and over. And the House has a $1 trillion budget. I mean, that's significant cuts in the budget. And I'm all for it. But again, if we end up at $500 billion and get the tax cuts, what's wrong with that?
Yeah,
we haven't cut the budget. Now, President Trump also said he wants a balanced budget in 2 years. That's going to be tough.
Yeah,
doable. If we got a booming economy, it's doable. But more because we're getting more revenue than we're going to cut. But whatever, it would be great PR if we get our first balanced budget since 2001.
Yeah.
But, like you said, though, why is it so hard to, if you don't believe governments, and I even will say this, and this is going to make me unpopular among the status quo Republicans, but how many Apache helicopters does the Defense Department need? I mean, seriously, how many?
Yeah. Well, in this day and age, less than before.
You'd think. How many aircraft carriers do we really need? How many bases overseas do we have to have?
Less than before because of the technology.
And we've got more than we've ever had.
Yeah.
We're in more, I think we're in like 70 countries.
Mm-hmm.
We have some sort of military base.
Yeah.
I mean, how about we make it 58?
Yeah. Well, we did get rid of one under Joe Biden's term.
We did?
Yeah. In Afghanistan.
Oh, you're terrible.
Is that maybe not the way we should do it?
I don't think that... yeah, that's definitely the poster child for what not to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that one was costly to us.
That was very costly.
That was not a cost saving.
Beginning of the end of the Biden presidency was
yes.
August of 21, without a doubt. It's underwater ever since.
Yeah.
By the way, did you see highlights of him on The View?
No.
I got to say this. Sunny Hostin proves how worthless I want proof that she has a law degree. I really do, because here's the funny thing. When Kamala was on there, she unintentionally asked the hardest question Kamala ever got asked.
Yeah.
What would you do differently than Joe Biden? Remember, Paris froze and didn't have an answer.
Yeah.
Today, I can't remember what she asked Biden, but Jill jumped in and answered it for her.
Really?
Yeah. Biden just stood there staring, like there was somebody had a cake or something and he wanted. And she just pivots to the next. But I want proof she has a law degree. She just proves how worthless education's becoming.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe she went to Minnesota School.
Yeah, she said when Trump got elected that Trump was a DEI pick. It was DEI that got Trump elected. Hey, you go figure that out. Figure that out. I don't know. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I got to say this for optics here, and Jay, I said this to you off the air.
Yeah.
Mike Johnson and John Thune are about 3 feet different in height. When I saw Johnson and Thune give a joint press statement, I honestly thought Thune either was standing on boxes or Mike Johnson was doing a Michael Dukakis impersonation. I couldn't really tell. I'm going to look up their heights real quick.
Yeah.
I gotta look.
Maybe Mike Johnson is working on a role to play Prince in an upcoming
Was Prince short?
film. Oh yes. And he wore heels and he was still short.
Heels?
Yes.
Okay, I can't get a height on Mike Johnson. Come on.
Huh.
Where's
Well, he's got to be at least 5'3".
Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
Height. It goes to some YouTube video.
Well, that doesn't help.
Google, you blow.
I would think if it wasn't complimentary, Google would put that front and center.
Yeah, what's John Thune's height? I have to know these things.
Yeah.
John Thune is 6'4".
Really? So he's not that tall.
No, he's pretty tall, but not that tall. So Mike Johnson is either 3'7". He is not tall. But anyhow, the contrast of the two of them just is amazing.
Yeah.
So when they talk, they seem to be optimistic. Mike Johnson's still out there saying, no, we're going to have a bill on Memorial Day. Thune says the Senate will pass it by the 4th of July. I am just not optimistic about that.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think Johnson has a little bit more hold in the House. And I do think there's some House Dems that could vote for it.
Yeah.
There are 18 Democrats in districts that Trump won. So you've got to figure that a handful of them might be considering it. I can't think of the guy from Maine 2 who voted for the reconciliation.
Yeah.
But he won like 50.3 to 49.7. But Trump won Maine 2 handily. And so I don't know. I don't know if any of them dare. I don't know if, Nancy Pelosi was always somebody who kind of said, look, do what you have to do to get reelected sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Akeem and them, they don't seem to have the hold over the Dems that Pelosi had. Pelosi was pretty cutthroat.
Yeah,
and it doesn't
very much.
seem like the Dems now don't fear Akeem Jeffries at all.
Oh, no. They don't.
Yeah, so I don't know where they stand on it. I would be surprised though if more than a half a dozen voted for it, and that means there's not many votes you can lose. They have what 222 to 213 or something is the.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, it was so close that the lady from New York withdrew as the UN rep. I mean, because they didn't want to have another special election, even though they won the 2 in Florida by 20 points. They didn't want to do another one. So what's her name? Stepnostic or something.
Stefanik.
Yeah, Stefanik.
Yeah.
So, so I don't know. I'm just not optimistic about that. And I do think something will pass, but I'm worried it's going to be later. I'm worried it's going to not have the effect that it needs to.
Huh.
And I'm just concerned. There just seems to be no sense of urgency. And
right.
I don't get that. And I'm just waiting for when does Trump come out of the cocoon right now? Because he's being advised by somebody to say nothing.
Yes, he has to be, because normally
it's not him to be. It's him to be. Hey,
yeah,
let's go. I mean, it's, and I think he likes to give subliminal messages through the media. And that's just my opinion. But somebody around him, it isn't Stephen Miller, because Miller's as outspoken as anybody. And
Right.
I don't know that Susie Wiles is playing that kind of role right now as the chief of staff. She's probably not playing a policy role right now.
Right.
So I don't know who's around Trump telling him to just cool it, and we're working on it.
Well, and that's strange because he's doing this with the House, but he's not doing it with anyone else. The new Prime Minister of Canada comes in yesterday, and he's still on the 51st state thing. It's like, well, you got to admit. The guy's sitting right there.
Well, they're still talking about Alberta seceding from the Union, joining the United States, which would be interesting to chunk Alberta out of there and have British Columbia and the Yukon over to the west would be interesting. But yeah, and you never know when Trump's half serious. And
I know.
That's
his negotiating tactic. It's like be outlandish and get what you want out of it.
Say the craziest thing and then settle for 40% of it. I don't know. But there's something, he's letting the process go, and that's the one thing that gives me hope, is that obviously he knows stuff we don't.
Yeah.
But what do you think about how do you read the House and Senate, though, like the individual members? Because do you think if there's not enough cuts, some Republicans, are they going to vote against it? If there's not, if the tax cuts don't go all the way, because to me, it's like, okay, well, what's the incentive to vote no? Even though I understand Tom Massey and I understand people being frustrated.
Yeah.
But a perfect bill ain't coming.
No, but there are certain things we have to do, and before, I don't know if this has changed at all yet, but the tax cuts that were being proposed were basically just to make Trump's tax cuts permanent. No, we have to cut them further than that. We can't just settle for what was. We need a break financially, and to do that, you have to cut taxes further, not just maintain things the way that they are now.
Well, from what I understand, the House and Senate both have the tax cuts being permanent and the no taxes on tips,
right,
Social Security, and overtime.
Well, that helps some people.
And there's the deregulation parts. Trump wants his, I don't see this in the bill, where you can deduct your car insurance interest like you can a home mortgage.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting. It could really help fight higher interest rates.
Right.
Trump only wants it on American cars.
Right.
And so I don't know where that stands. The Trump's America First PAC, I can't remember what it's called, did a study, though, that I think it's almost 70% of Americans either get Social Security, work overtime, or make tips.
Really?
So you're looking at 70% getting hit with that.
Wow.
And people, what was the standard deduction? If that went away, the doubling of the standard deduction would hit something like 100 million people or something like that.
Wow.
So everybody's going to be affected by this.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, and look, some people don't pay federal income taxes. So I don't know that you can hit everybody with this.
Well, there's that.
You can hit as many people as you can. But I think a package where 70% of the Americans get something and no one gets tax increase, which would happen if we don't make these tax cuts permanent.
Right.
And I think the deregulation could help lower prices. It could help job growth.
Yeah.
There's a lot of angles to this. But again, I just, like you said, what happens if all that stuff doesn't pass? What if a watered down version of it does?
Yeah. I know.
And you're going to get Republican defectors if that happens, because they're going to say, look, if I vote for this and the economy doesn't boom, well, you voted for it. You're complaining about it, but you voted for it anyway.
Right.
I mean, they can get primaried if they're in a Republican. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to make it all political, but it is political.
Yeah, very much so. And each of these guys and girls need to be thinking about building a legacy, and I mean, you want to get reelected as many times as you want to run, then do the right things.
Okay.
Like, be bold.
This is what I say. The last time that Republicans had the presidency, the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, majority of governors, and a majority of state legislators was 1928. Okay? That is what we have. A once in a century.
Absolutely.
Okay? That's your thing. You blow this, you don't deserve another chance.
Right.
You don't deserve it from your own voters. Okay? So that's what's at stake there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I still think that the deregulation and the tax cuts really need to be by the top priorities. Yes, the spending cuts have to be. There's got to be cuts.
Yeah.
I think Republicans do agree to that to some extent. Here's my question for you. Let's just pretend that the House passes $1 trillion in cuts, along with all the tax cuts, which would be one good feat. I mean, it would be hard to. I know you could poke holes in any bill.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I think of spending too. Cut the funding for sanctuary cities. There's just a gazillion places you can go before you go to Medicaid. Okay?
Right.
Sorry. But that's going to be portrayed.
Absolutely.
So let's just do what's easier. Right now.
Get the easy wins, and then you tackle the harder things.
I mean, we got it. It has to be tackled. It's got to be tackled.
Oh, yeah. Eventually it does. And we push
we kicked the can down the road far enough. We tried to do this in the 90s. Anyhow, what is it? Let's say that bill goes to the Senate.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that bill would have the MAGA and Tea Party support, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
What happens to the status quo Republicans?
Depends how hard Thune's willing to push them. Some of them we've seen.
Susan Collins
can't
vote
be
for
pushed. She might. She might vote for that. I worry more about Mitch McConnell and possibly Murkowski.
Okay, Murkowski's got an election in 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, Mitch I've kind of written off.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he might vote for it. I mean,
he
again,
still has to cast a vote for the next 2 years.
But,
or
I mean,
whatever.
the whole thing is, I mean, do you really want to kick Trump in the face that hard?
I don't think he
Why
cares.
would you blow up
He barely knoes he's alive.
True, but then it should be an easy yes vote.
Right.
I mean, if that's the case. We talked about Lindsey Graham. I think he's a for sure yes. But you look at the Tom Tillises of the world, and he's been all over the map on that, and up in North Carolina, probably going to face a primary challenge of some kind.
Yeah.
John Cornyn's going to have a primary.
Yes, he is.
Better.
He already does. Yeah.
Well, but I mean, he votes no on that.
Yeah, it almost assures Ken Paxton.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the mega fundraise, I think Elon's PAC is gonna,
yes,
they're gonna be a little problem there. So I mean, do you think ultimately that passes the Senate? I mean, do you think they can get to the 50 votes or the add JD or whatever if you have to?
Right.
I mean, do you think they get there with that? I mean, Thune's got to push it. He doesn't push that. What's he going to do?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think he gets to 50. It's going to be close. But yeah, I mean, they can lose 3 votes, and JD can still
He'd be 51 to 50, assuming no Democrat votes for it. And I think outside of John Fetterman, I don't foresee. It'd be hard for me to see any others voting for it.
Yeah,
especially with the cuts. I mean, especially with the cuts. I mean, I just don't see it. And I know that You've got the recent MAGA people, the people who were just elected. I mean, they campaigned on this stuff with Trump. McCormick, Tim Sheehy up in Montana, Bernie Moreno in Ohio. I think almost everybody is a for sure. But again, can they pass two different versions of it? They got to go back again.
Yeah, I don't know how to best do that. You know, you've got a House bill and a Senate bill, and they've both got to make sure that they can win that, right? And then making things work in reconciliation and
because if the Senate comes back with less cuts, does that pass the House?
I guess it depends.
You'd like to think it would, but
yeah, I don't know. You know, if it's not cutting enough stuff, you're definitely going to hear from folks like Chip Roy and
and you should.
Yeah,
I mean, you should, to be honest with you. But this is where I go back to last year, in not supporting Kerry Lake, and not supporting how close we came in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
we had a handful of close losses in the House, and just not upping those numbers to where we didn't have. I mean, if the Republicans had a 30-seat majority in the House, this would be a no-brainer that would pass.
Right.
Even if you had Republican defections, it wouldn't matter. If we had 55 Senate seats instead of 53, you know what I mean? And it wouldn't matter if we lost 3 people.
Right.
This is where I just come back to some of the missed opportunity of last year. Even though it was obviously a good election, I can't complain. But what I wouldn't give to have like 2 more Senate seats right now.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Like 6 more House members. It would just,
right,
be something else if they had that. So, but again, I gotta say this: you don't pass anything, you deserve to be defeated.
Yeah.
But it's a worry thing for me because they're going to make Trump's last 2 years hell. They're going to make J.D. Vance. It's all about going after Vance. And that's really what it's all about, damaging him. And that's what the Dems are counting on. They're counting on
the Republicans screwing up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just James Carville. And then and I hate him for it.
Yeah,
but he's right.
Right.
I totally agree with him. I mean, who's more likely to get run over? The person crossing the street or the person sitting at home watching TV? Person crossing the street. Okay? That's the Republicans.
Right.
People sitting around doing nothing are the Dems.
Mm-hmm.
So who's more likely to get killed? So, I mean, part of me hates that. Part of me totally agrees.
Yeah.
I just wonder if there's a backlash to that, though. I mean, if there's a backlash to hoping somebody fails. But I go back to after George W. was reelected and the Republicans failed in Iraq, Dems had no answers. Obama had no answers, and it didn't matter.
Right.
But we're still in Iraq. I mean,
absolutely we are.
There's no answers at all to it. So I don't know. That'd be another country I'd like to leave. And by the way, how many troops do we really need in Germany? Are the East Germans about to invade?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, can you imagine being a country and have foreign troops there?
Yeah.
That's something I just would not want.
No, I certainly wouldn't want them here.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't like having the UN.
I don't like it
here.
Either.
Yeah. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know why we're in Germany. I mean, to have some that are close to, close to the line, defending from any further attack from Russia. I mean, I get that. We obviously want to stay out of places like Ukraine because we don't want to provoke a bigger war. Although it's hard to imagine that at this point, because it's pretty big, pretty blown up. So I don't know.
NATO, as flawed as it is, and Western Europe as irrelevant as they are right now in the world, they're not going away. It's still the best bulwark that we have.
Yeah.
I still hate NATO. I hate those countries for not, wanting to be independent, becoming socialist, and depending on us for their protection really angers me. But they're not going away, and the reality is that we're going to have some sort of agreement there. But yeah, I mean, there's places that there's just a lot of places we have bases I just don't understand what for. I just don't get it. We're still in a Cold War mentality.
Yeah.
When the Cold War ended, Jay, I assumed we'd decrease our defenses. I assumed that it wouldn't be necessary to. I understand why Reagan built them up in the 80s. I get it. He was playing chess with Gorby.
Yeah.
That's what he was doing. Okay. But to me, I don't know if it's defense contractors. I don't know if it's this saber rattling, this perpetual state of war. We could be in a war any day and we have to be prepared for absolutely everything. I don't know what it is, but what we spend on defense, I am just baffled at.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I support our military. I support having an army and a navy, and don't misunderstand that. But what our strategy is going forward, I couldn't. It's just permanent. It's permanent Washington. It's just permanent Washington. It's got nothing to do with who's president or who runs the Congress. It just has nothing to do with that stuff. It's just entrenched defense stuff.
Right.
No, it's just.
Yeah, and the way that we fight is changing, and we have to adapt. I mean, we've got a great military for the 1900s. We do not have. We still have the best military on earth. Don't get me wrong. There's not another military that can compare with us right now. But if we're looking at the future, and we have to look at AI, and we have to look at advanced weapon systems, and we have to be able to
look at space.
Yeah, look at space, and be prepared to be able to do the things that...
Look, we do it or another country will.
Yeah, exactly. If we don't put up defenses to China, they're going to create something that we have no defense for. We've got to stay one step ahead all the time.
Yeah, I mean... we talked about the trade talks with China and what's involved in that. Do you military... do you think that's because I get the gut feeling with Trump it's not all about trade?
No, it's stay out of Taiwan. It is
put some pressure on Russia.
Oh, yeah.
Because here's the thing. You can sanction Russia to death. They just run to China.
Right.
China can take our place as far as buying their oil or whatever. It's why I don't think sanctions would work. I think China's the one country that can get their attention.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's, a deal with China is going to take a long time.
It will, but granted, I mean, we're already seeing in China signs of economic collapse.
Uncle?
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing they're having to lay off like many, many, many people, and there's unrest to the degree you ever see unrest in China.
Isn't that amazing? A communist country laying people off. I thought everybody was guaranteed everything.
Right.
Weren't you guaranteed?
Not when you don't have any money.
Yeah. You just have to hope they don't call in our bonds, even though I own a few. Yeah. Because I always felt like people ask me, why do you buy government bonds at a 5% return? Because at some point the Chinese will get them and they're going to pay me.
Right. What was it, the wedding singer? Well, my grandma gave me a savings bond when I was like 8, and in 1994, I think it'll be worth $30.
Yeah. That's right. That movie was set in the 80s.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Yeah. Love steaks. I gotta say, it's one of the few Adam Sandler movies that I like. I'm just, it's like Will Ferrell. I just can't watch Ron Burgundy in every movie, but it's just, I liked him in that movie. I liked him in what's the one where he's golfing?
Happy Gilmore.
Okay, kind of like that one. But I like
that one was great.
I like the Shooter guy. He's my favorite.
Shooter McGavin.
Yeah, I like Shooter. He's my favorite.
Hey, what do you say? Why don't we go down to the bay? Just me.
Well, you know me. I gravitate toward the jerk in a movie. So, and I think that's the only I've say to this day. 2 of the top 5 worst movies I've ever seen are Waterboy and 50 First Dates. Those are 2 of the top 5 of worst. I mean, they're up there with Phantom Menace.
Wow.
That's bad. That's really bad.
That is bad. Phantom Menace is in a league of its own. I mean, it's no Glitter or Geely, but which I haven't seen.
I never saw Geely. I did see Glitter.
I did not see either one.
You didn't. It was a good hour and 45 minutes. I wish I could have had back.
Yeah.
It was. Boy, it was like Major League Part 2. It was pretty bad. Back to the Minors, I kind of liked though, which is weird.
I didn't see that one.
Okay, that was late 90s, maybe. Back to the Minors was good.
Okay.
So, yeah. See, once again, I gravitate toward the jerk. I like the guy from L.A. Law on there.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. Why? Why do I gravitate toward the guy who's the biggest a-hole?
I don't know.
Got me. What's his name? Dorn. I don't know what his real name is.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Corbin Burnson. That's his real name.
Yeah.
So I graduated. So anyhow, getting back, just a couple more things to say about the political stuff. We can wrap this up.
Yeah.
Jay, is there a bill out of the House by Memorial Day? Now, Memorial Day
has to be, but I don't think so.
So they've got till May 26th.
They're going to have to take a break. They can't work through Memorial Day.
I think they take the week off. I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah.
And I know they take August off. The August street, always off and on.
So the real question is, do we have a bill by the 4th of July? I think, not Memorial Day. I think if they get their act together and if they do what they're supposed to do, then it's possible by the 4th of July we could have a bill, but I don't foresee it before then.
Wow.
I mean, how it is such a big bill. It is so comprehensive. It has so much in it. How do you get to a vote in the House and in the Senate and then do the reconciliation piece with 3 weeks? How do you do that? I don't foresee
really
it.
Don't know.
Reconciliation in and of itself is going to take 2 to 3 weeks.
Here's the other thing, though. The other thing is, when does this take effect? Is this taking effect October 1st, January 1st? How do you do the taxes?
Right.
How do you do the no taxes on tips? Does that start next tax year? Which you're not going to do, because if that starts January, Trump wants it retroactive, and I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that.
But think about it. If no taxes on tips doesn't start until January, you're not going to file your taxes till April of 2027.
Right. I think you can.
Well, you'll
go back
see it on your checks.
Yeah.
But
I think you could, if you pass it this year, I think you could say for the year, for tax year 2025, we're not going to collect taxes on tips. And for those who might pay quarterly, I don't know, maybe with tips that doesn't happen quite as much.
It does, but not as much.
You obviously then at the end of the year when you're doing all of that, you
could say starting
some
October
back.
1st, no more taxes on overtime or something.
Yeah.
The last 3 months, you could do it that way, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I think usually when you look at like tax rates, usually it's like the next year before it really takes a hold.
Yeah.
And I think, again, that's a problem. But I think one of the good things about like no taxes on Social Security, no taxes on overtime, is that if you implement it right away, those people will get those benefits immediately. That's like literally putting money in their pocket, but they earned it. You're not printing it.
Yeah.
It's not sending somebody a check. It's overtime. It's their money that they earned.
Right.
And we should stress, too, we're talking about federal taxes. Your state, especially this state, will continue to tax your Social Security, your tips, and your social or overtime.
Yes.
So you're not going to miss. We won't miss out here in Minnesota.
Yes, and what the federal government cuts, I'm sure that the state government will more than make up for.
They're already complaining about the department going away. We're going to lose all this funding. No. The funding's going to go back to you.
Yeah.
You're not losing it. The funding you whine about all the time, by the way.
Yeah.
They're constantly bitching and moaning about it, and yet they want that free money.
Right. Isn't it better you get to keep all the money and federal government doesn't take their cut out of it?
Yeah, but you know what it is? They don't want that. They don't want the accountability.
That's it. When you have the accountability, you have to have something to show for it, and they got nothing to show. It's a pocket with a hole in it. Yeah, it's not pretty, is it?
It's oogly. It's just oogly. I just hope I'm wrong. In a couple months, we're sitting here saying, okay, it took forever, but we love what happened.
I hope so.
I just...
But, we'll see. There's a couple of bills going around now that are one-page bills that I don't know why they're starting to do this now with codifying like the Gulf of America. Anna Paulina Luna is putting forth a bill to revoke the Patriot Act. I think that would be awesome.
I feel so dumb walking around 20 years ago repeating the Bush-Cheney lies and, believing that, there was a long time I believed the Patriot Act was necessary.
I never did. But back in that period, I was listening to Alex Jones a lot.
Oh, see, I listened to him later, around when Ron Paul started getting big.
Yeah,
so,
that was through that period.
But it was probably after that you're talking about, more like 09, 08, 10.
Yeah,
kind of coincided with like the Tea Party movement and stuff like that. I wasn't listening to a lot of that. But when I went back, and again, some of it I think had to do with the explosion of the internet and being able to go back and read this stuff and get the non-political spin if you could find it. Then the alternative media sort of came up, and you got a perspective that you didn't get on television.
Right.
So it did change my mind on it, and I would repeal the entire damn thing, or at least 90% of it. I would absolutely vote to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's terrible.
Absolutely.
And I just don't, I think it just comes down to, for me, you could do it if you can do anything in the name of national security, which is what our government always claims. The truth about 9/11 is in a box somewhere and can't be opened for 75 years. Why?
Yeah.
What is the purpose of that? Why am I not owed? I mean, we've literally spent no time investigating 9/11. If you really want to be honest about it,
Right.
Not saying it was an inside job or anything like that. What I'm saying is, why is it that our media spent more time on the Natalie Holloway case than they spent on 9/11?
Yeah.
I'm not diminishing somebody,
Mm-hmm.
a girl losing her life in another country. I'm not
Right.
trying to minimize that. But I always wonder, what else happened in the world while everybody was focused on that?
Yeah. I mean, we obviously dropped the ball. At the very least, we dropped the ball and allowed people to be in our country that we knew were dangerous. We didn't pick up on.
One of them was sent a pilot's license
Yeah.
or something after 9/11.
Yeah.
And I always go back to this. If George W. Bush was Mr. Security, why do we have open ports and open borders?
Yeah. I don't know.
Why?
Yeah. Your guess is as good
Yeah.
as mine.
I know what the answer is. Cheap
Yeah.
labor.
Right. But
Globalists.
we're really
free trade.
willing to sacrifice our national security.
I gotta say this too, and this is I've changed my mind a million. I'm never consistent. I'm never gonna be,
Yeah.
because I've waffled a lot. I mean, even the Republican Party I've waned on sometimes, and kind of back in the fold. When I look back on like the presidents,
Yeah.
boy, I voted for George W. Bush twice, and it's
Yeah.
really hard to call his presidency a success.
Yeah. I did too, but I was in the first time I was enthusiastic about it, and then I thought he was the right man for the job when 9/11 came.
I totally
But-
agree with you.
I soured on it pretty quick. I did vote for him the second time, but it was one of the rare times where I held my nose and voted for somebody.
See, I did that for John McCain.
Yeah, I didn't.
Because by then I had
moved on by then.
Yeah, by then I had soured on. I would call it more an anti-Obama vote.
Yeah.
Same thing with Mitt Romney. They were more anti-Obama votes than they were
Yeah.
pro anybody. It wasn't until Trump where I was for someone again.
Right.
And so, I look back on it though, and I think Bush and Obama, and I would rank George H.W. as a pretty good president when I really think back on it. I think he just didn't know how to campaign. He didn't know how to win. He didn't know how to win without Reagan's legacy behind
He
him.
was a little bit of a globalist, though.
He was, but when I go back to 88, he reminds me of Trump.
Yeah.
They hired Lee Atwater. He went after Dukakis, man. They defined him. The Massachusetts liberal driving in your tank. Guy talks about the pollution over off of New Jersey. Look over his shoulder at Boston Harbor. I mean, it was cutthroat political stuff. And they backed off of that. Bush backed off of that afterward. He campaigned in 92 like he didn't care.
Right.
And, so I don't know. But I can't call him a failure as president. I don't think I can do that. Oh, I don't know. I guess I would rank him in my lifetime. I don't know why I'm even going this way, but I would probably go Reagan, Trump, probably Clinton, if I'm going to be objective about it.
Yeah.
I did vote for him. And then I'd probably go Bush Sr., W. Obama, then a huge drop to Jimmy Carter,
Yeah.
then a huge drop to Joe Biden.
Yeah.
There's my lifetime.
Huh.
So what is that? 8 presidents?
I'd have to stick Ford and Nixon in there, but I don't remember much because
I was born for 10 days under Gerald Ford.
Yeah.
January 10th, 1977.
I was not alive for long during Nixon either,
Yeah.
because that was right,
What, about
right
7 or
at
8
the death
months?
rattle. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, Jay. Well, I got to find our song here. And you got to come up with some inspirational words here. Because we've been optimistic, and yet today was a little pessimistic.
Yeah. Well,
a little worrisome.
You know, they gotta get their act together in Congress. So
I'd like to see the bets on that. I'd lay some money down if I were in Vegas.
Yeah.
All right, jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. I forgot something in there. Doesn't matter. The sign-off sermon, SOS. How did we start this? I don't know. But we're just going to continue. I don't know how we started anything on this show. The sign-off sermon, Jason, Donald, Bradley. Go.
Yeah, not my name. I don't even know where to start. Because you have so much promise on one side and so much just meltdown and mess on the other. You've got Democrats that are going to a foreign country to try and get a gang member that beat his wife out of prison and saying that they're going to stay there till he gets out. And the far left people are flooding into the streets and they're taking things over and they're chanting, and you see in Washington, Antifa is out again, causing issues, and none of us are like that. Even if we're on the left side of the spectrum, but we're just a family person that we go to work, we come home, we take care of our kids and our wives, our husbands or whatever. We do the right thing. None of us, most of us are not the kind that want to go and set things on fire and punch people out and overturn things. But yet there's some of us that are family people that are willing to support the same people that those people support. And it's a little perplexing to me, because if we don't agree with them, then what do we have in common with them that we're voting for the same person? I don't know. I guess my point in that is to say that I think, need to do a little more soul searching as a nation, as individuals. And if we can come to a place where it's like, I always supported this party. I always thought that, these people believed in what I believed in. I think that you will find quickly that they say they believe in the things you believe in, but they don't, because they don't ever do it. They are for the destruction of this nation. They are for the destruction of the middle class. They are for the destruction of anyone that doesn't fit in some sort of specialty category. But we fuel that with our support. Over on the right, there are people who say that they believe things and they don't do anything. And I think with them, they're not like soldiers for the cause. They're just trying to get rich, trying to, for self-preservation's sake, say the right things. And we that are more conservative need to take a look at that, and we need to give those people a big, swift kick in the butt out of office. It is time that we use the primary as a primary tool to get rid of those who will not do the right thing. We have got to reset the system. We have so little time. We have so little time to be able to try and get this right, because eventually Democrats will win elections again. And when they do, if they have not changed their ways and become more moderate, it is going to end in the destruction of our nation. So we only fix that by going ahead of them and idiot-proofing it. right? By putting in measures through legislation that cannot be overturned except through legislation, so that we are protected, so that our nation is protected, so that the middle class is protected, so that we can do the right thing for the poor and for minorities. Instead of watching these goofballs dance around on tables and shout at people and knock out the windows of Teslas. And, we've got to do the right thing, and we've got to stand firm, and we've got to say, nope, not on my watch. And we do this by being citizen journalists where we live, by recording these things, by putting it out on social media, and letting society be the judge. Do you want more of this, or do we want to run from that as fast as we can? So by doing that, by starting a blog, by starting a podcast, you can get that information out there where people finally know about it. People aren't going to get a lot of this information by watching the nightly news. A lot of people don't watch the nightly news, and they're low information voters. They start paying attention 90 days before an election, if you're lucky. We need to get people informed, and part of that is by us all shouldering the load together. Now, if we start a podcast, you can start a podcast. We've kept this thing going now for 338 episodes is this now? Something like that. Man, this is episode 9, I think.
8 years, maybe?
Yeah. Episode 9. It's season 9, I think, is what it is. Or season 8. 8 or 9. I think it's 9. I'd have to look. But
we probably should know that.
Yeah. As I edit it and it comes up every week, yes. I should know that. But the point is, if we can do this and just show up and be consistent, you can show up and be consistent, and you can educate the people around you on what's going on in your lives, in your city, in your school district, in your county, in your state, in your nation. It's so important, because if we don't take time to get educated and put the right people in office, we'll continue to get what we've always got. We've got to get rid of people like Tim Walz and Keith Ellison and Julie Blah and our county commissioners that are voting to tear down the power plants and are and pump all sorts of money into rail and like passenger rail. And city council people who keep trying to tear our cities down and rebuild them so that they can be more dense, or the only thing dense on the city council is them. We have to make a move. This is our time. These things are coming to a head, and we can be at the forefront, or we can just sit back and watch it happen as we suffer in silence. It's up to you. I'd rather not suffer at all. So let us know if you need help setting like a podcast or a blog up, or you want to be a citizen journalist and you want tips on that. We'd love to help you with that. Just get a hold of us at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That's commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. And if you happen to have a story happening in your city, in your community, your township that you want us to know about, let us know. And we'll see what we can do about covering that so that everybody knows what's going on. We love you, Minnesota, but now it's your turn to get to work.